Welcome, everyone. We are starting. Today, we will be talking about cybersecurity certifications, and you are welcome to the Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday, same time, 7 to 8. And today's is going to be very informative as usual. So you are welcome once again. You could have been anywhere tonight, but you are here to improve upon your knowledge in cybersecurity, and we appreciate that. So this is myself. I'm Dr. Idu. I'm going to be your instructor or the presenter for this session. I'm a former United States Army captain. I used to be a professor at the University of Maryland Global Campus and CTC. I'm a cybersecurity enthusiast. I love everything cybersecurity. I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc., a cybersecurity consulting firm based in New York, and also the founder of Eretmis Academy. So today's topic, what would we be looking at? We'll be talking about cybersecurity certifications. First, we will look at understanding cybersecurity certifications. We will look at the difference or the differences between the different types of cybersecurity certification programs. We will look at the major cybersecurity certification organizations that are out there, prerequisites for different cybersecurity certifications, and then we will finally look at how to decide on which certification to pursue, right? So how to choose a certification that is going to meet your needs as a cybersecurity professional or somebody who wants to jump into the cybersecurity field. So some housekeeping as we are moving along. If you have any questions, please raise your virtual hand and I will give you the floor and allow you to ask your question, and then we answer it, right? So first, we will start with understanding cybersecurity certifications. So I know almost everybody here might know 1 or 2 or 3 cybersecurity certifications that are out there. Now, cybersecurity certifications, they come in different flavors and in different forms, right? So like deciding on which certification is good for you will depend on different reasons and different requirements, maybe probably from an employer or just for your own career path, right? So depending on what you are looking for, that will kind of inform which path to go in terms of cybersecurity. But for somebody starting off, we will come to all that. What is a good starting point, right? Some people think starting off, they can just, okay, what if I want to start off, but I want to just go straight into Pentest, right? We will look into all that and what certifications, will best fit that route, okay? So if I pause here and there as we're moving along, please forgive me. We're still allowing people in as we are moving along, okay? So we are going to have a better understanding of how cybersecurity certifications even came to being and the differences that we have when it comes to cybersecurity certifications. Okay, so let's continue. So cybersecurity certifications, the idea or the reason behind them, right, is to first train industry professionals and also to help people who want to get into the industry, for them to help them prove that they have the knowledge and the skills to be able to work in the industry, right? So for those who are already in it, is a means for you to demonstrate that you are improving or you are acquiring more knowledge and skills, as you are moving along. So that can bring about promotion. So if you get like a higher certification or some certifications will help you to reach the promotion or the height you want to reach in whatever span of goal that you have. And then for people who are trying to get into the industry, it is a way that one of the ways that you can use to break into the industry. So certifications, they will help to show your mastery of your knowledge and skills in cybersecurity. So that is why a lot of weight has been put on certifications. And this is not only within the cybersecurity industry, but in IT in general. And in other fields, certifications are also really big. But we are just focusing on IT. In IT, certifications, and we will look at the types. So certifications, they will help, or the intent is for you to demonstrate that you have mastery of whatever knowledge and skills that certification covers. Okay. So what are the types or what are the differences in cybersecurity certification programs? So within cybersecurity, as of today, we have two main categories when it comes to certifications, right? So the very common ones that everybody knows is what we call the professional certification, the professional cybersecurity certifications. So those include Security Plus, CISSP, and those ones. And then we have academic cybersecurity certifications. So academic cybersecurity certifications will include certifications that you take, or like certification courses that you take from any school, any traditional school, right? So we will get into that as well. Where do we fit in, the non-traditional schools and the certifications that you get? Okay. So let's look at professional certifications first. So professional cybersecurity certifications, it is a great way for beginners to, land a cybersecurity job. There are some questions in the chat. We'll look at it as when we get to a good point. Okay, so everybody, anybody who put in a question in there, we will address it. So for professional certifications, like I talked about earlier, is a good way for anybody within the industry to demonstrate their mastery of the knowledge and skills that pertains to that body of knowledge that certification covers. Okay, and for somebody who's trying to get into the industry, certifications or whatever certification that you are taking will be, one of the things that will help you to actually help break into the industry. So when we look at certifications, like professional certifications, they cover different areas in cybersecurity. There is no single certification that covers everything. Now, some of them try to touch on almost every area, but always there will be some areas that they wouldn't really do very good justice to. Okay, so an example, Security Plus covers almost all areas. The 501 did not cover mostly the GRC portion of cybersecurity, but the 601 covers, compliance and those areas as well. But it doesn't really cover all areas. It covers almost all areas, but some areas are a bit shallow. It doesn't really go that deep. Okay, and a certification like CISSP focuses more on the managerial and the leadership side of cybersecurity. So it's not going to cover the very technical areas really well, right? It will cover some of it. So all certifications, they have what we call their body of knowledge that they cover. Okay, that is why as you are growing in the industry, it is good to improve yourself by taking certifications, professional certifications, because as you're taking these, you'll be learning more and you'll be expanding your scope in terms of skills and knowledge. Okay. So for we will look at some of the professional certifications individually, and then also by the certification by the certifying bodies. Okay, so for professional certifications, they are what we talked about. Any of those certifications that you have to go sit for the exam from the certification bodies, and then when you pass, you have that title. And mostly professional certifications, they will last for 3 years. Like they are valid for 3 years. So within the 3 years, I think when it's about to expire, you have to either resit for the exam, or there are some continuous education points that you can also, sit for from the certification authorities, or as you are attending webinars like this, you are attending courses. All those can count towards your continuous education. And all these different certification like bodies, they have different names for continuous education. Some will call it CPE, some call it CEU, so but at the end of the day, they are all points that you get for continuously learning in the industry. So you can either sit for the certification when it is about to expire, or you can submit all your courses and other webinars you've attended, and then they will give you points for that, and that will help you to requalify for the certification. Okay, so one of the biggest difference that we'll see between the two types of, or the two categories of certifications, is that professional certifications, they are not forever, right? You have to renew one, you have to renew them every 3 years. Now there are ones here and there that that are outliers that we'll talk about, but mostly you have to renew them within 3 years. Okay, so let's move on and look at the other category of certifications. Oh, and more on this. So professional certifications, some organizations, especially government agencies, they require their workers who are working in infosec to have some of these professional certifications, right? So for DoD, I know they are coming to the point where now for Security Plus, everybody working in infosec in DoD is a must-have, right? There is no way around it. It's a must-have. If you don't have it and they employ you, you have to get it within 6 months, right? And they are depending on what tier you are in, their charts. There are some certifications that you need to get, right? And other corporate bodies, also will go that same route. Okay, so these certifications, the companies might ask for it, and then also if you are working in the government side, it might be a requirement, but mostly for the corporate side, it's only going to be not must have per se, but they will encourage you to sit for those, and some organizations will even pay for it, right? So examples of professional certifications that I talked about is SIM. You have Security Plus, Ethical Hacker, Pentest from CompTIA, CISSP. All these are professional certifications. Okay. So now we'll look at academic certifications. So we have academic cybersecurity certifications as well. So for anybody joining us not too long ago, we are talking about certifications, and we are looking at the two major categories of certifications that we have now in cybersecurity. We have professional cybersecurity certifications and academic cybersecurity certifications. So we just looked at professional cybersecurity certifications. So these certifications are certifications that are offered by bodies, mostly non-profit IT organizations that offer these certifications. So you sit for an exam, and then you pass, and then you get those certifications. Now we will look at some of the prerequisites as we are moving along. We are looking at academic certifications now. So academic certifications, they do not include traditional diploma or master's degree or doctorate that you get from a traditional school. But academic certifications are offered by traditional schools, right? So that includes, any college or any university or any community college that you go to. If they are offering certification course, that is the certification we are talking about here, right? So certification courses in cybersecurity. And if you get a diploma or, master's or bachelor's, we don't consider those as cybersecurity. So if you get it in cybersecurity, those do not count as, anything cybersecurity certification. Okay, those are degrees or like diplomas. So academic certifications, mostly they are shorter in terms of length than your normal diploma or than your normal bachelor's or your normal master's program, right? So they are shorter, probably maybe three months, 2 months, 6 months, right? And they also focus on specific areas of cybersecurity. So they cannot teach you everything. They focus on specific areas. So some will focus on risk management, some will focus on data privacy, and like some will also just be an introductory course into cybersecurity. Okay. So mostly the traditional schools, they use that as a form of introducing the main course that they are offering in master's or bachelor's, for you to get like a feel of how it is going to look like. So from there, then you can join their main programs, right? But those are also certifications that are in the industry. So between your professional certifications and your academic certifications, mostly when you even get an academic certifications, it is still required, or it will look better for you to get the professional certification, because that is what most industry players will look for, right? Because the academic certifications, they are offered by different schools, right? And players in the industry will assume we don't really know like the level of difficulty or what they were testing for in terms of skills and knowledge. But with these professional certifications, we know exactly what they are looking for, because we know the content of the certification curriculum or their objectives, right? So even if you get a bachelor's degree, master's degree in cybersecurity, mostly it will look good on you to get a professional certification. So if you have a professional certification and you have another certification from a school, that even makes you look better. Okay, but if you want to choose between the two, professional and academic, depending on what you are really looking for, but for just a good rule of thumb, the professional will always trump any academic certifications, right? But that is not to say academic certifications are not good, because the end point here is not just getting the certification. The end point is actually gaining the knowledge and the skills that the certification seeks to give you. Okay, so if you just take a shortcut to get a certification, but then the skills and knowledge just went the other way and you went the other way just to pass the exam, although you have it, but it is not really going to help you on the job, right? Because the end goal of getting these certifications is to be able to use the knowledge and skills you gain to work. So if on the job, it requires you to have those skills and knowledge, and you don't have it, even you yourself, your confidence is going to be down, and you wouldn't be able to function as you are supposed to. Now we are going to look at certification bodies. So for professional certifications, they are offered by organizations that are not traditional schools, or they are not in the academic circles, but these are organizations that have been set up some 20 years, some 40 years ago, and their goal is to promote cybersecurity education, and they've been around for a while, so we are going to look at them. These certification bodies, they are the ones who offers the certification exam. For example, for Security Plus, CISSP, CISA, all those, they have organizations behind them who are pushing those certifications, okay? And mostly these organizations, what they do is, although they are non-profits, the certifications are not free, you have to pay for them. Some as high as maybe 2,000, some as high as 500, some as low as, I think like the lowest is probably like maybe 380 or 400, right, to sit for the certification. And if you don't pass, you have to pay that amount and sit for it again. Now, these organizations, what they do is they are industry players, so they are continuously revising the knowledge and skills that they have on their certification, or like their knowledge, their body of knowledge that they are using for their certification, because they are industry players. They are researching and looking out for new technology, new concepts that are coming into the industry, and they are incorporating that in their questions for their exam. Okay, so that is why every 3 years they change their certifications, right? So they will improve upon it. If it was, so for example, for CompTIA, they started from, I think, 201, or for Security Plus, and now they are 601. Next 3 years, they'll go to 701. The following 3 years, they'll go to 801. And always they are improving upon in terms of knowledge and skill, right? So these certification bodies, they are constantly, researching and adding to, but so they are the industry drivers, frankly, when it comes to cybersecurity, is these certification bodies. Even the traditional or at the traditional schools, they have to, piggyback on these organizations to really, stay abreast with what is going on, right? Although they also do their own research and stuff like that. So certification bodies, we are going to look at some of the certification bodies that are out there. And these certification bodies we are talking about, we are mainly referring to professional certifications, right? For the academic certifications, It's just colleges, community colleges and universities. Okay? So for some of the certification bodies, some are, more known than others. Some are more respected in the industry than others, right? Because I can set up a certification body today, right? Eretmis certification, and then just come up with some certifications and, put it out there, probably go for my ISO certification to sign me off that I'm, good to offer certification exams and issue certifications. But am I going to be, can I easily break into the market, in terms of certification bodies or certifications? It's going to take me a while for people to sit for my exams, for, me to get that feedback from the industry, from employers that, your certification is actually helping, for me to get that recognition, right? So that is why I'm saying some certification bodies are more known than others, and anybody can set up a certification body, right? But as to, are you going to be that recognized is the problem, right? So, and it takes a lot to really set up a certification body and have researchers researching and coming up with, like different bodies or like schools of thought, and then also learning the industry and incorporating that into your questions and stuff like that, right? So some of the very known certification bodies are what we are going to look at. So ISC square, we call them ISC square. If you are not, like, if you don't know them, probably you know some of your certifications, but maybe you don't know who offers those certifications. So their full name is International Information System Security Certification Consortium. Now I stand to be corrected, right? ISC square is the first certification, cybersecurity certification body among all of them. I stand to be corrected, but I know that they are the first because they started, I think, early 80s, or even that I stand to be corrected, maybe mid 80s, but they started that far out, right? They are almost like 40 years or something plus old. And their first certification was the CISSP, and they've been pushing CISSP for the longest. So that is why they say CISSP is the golden standard when it comes to cybersecurity, because they are, like, CISSP has been there the longest, right? Among everything, the cybersecurity certification. Now, ISC Square, they are one of the most respected, and they are one of the, like, the biggest players when it comes to cybersecurity certifications. Okay, so these certification bodies, some, almost all of them, they also offer training to help you pass their certification exam, which sometimes it kind of looks weird how they are going to, set their own exams and then also train people on it. But it will surprise you when you take their training to take their own exams. Sometimes you might see that their training didn't really do justice in terms of what you see on the exams. Okay, so that is a different subject for another day. But these certification bodies, they have their own training and stuff that you can take, but mostly people take their training elsewhere and just go sit for the exam. Or if you've been in the industry and you have some knowledge, you can just polish up on it and go sit for the exam. Okay. Now, EC Council is also by far, now they are the biggest certification body when it comes to hacking or ethical hacking in cybersecurity. They've been there the longest. They have, like, the longest running certification in terms of ethical hacking. So EC Council, we will look at, them and some of the certifications that they have. Now, CompTIA, I would say CompTIA might probably be the youngest. CompTIA started not too long ago, I think maybe early 2000s or somewhere 2010, thereabout. I think 2000 and, yeah, probably 2006, but I stand to be corrected. I mean, I'm just trying to remember, but CompTIA, I know they are the youngest. I stand to be corrected on that one. They've not been around for that long, but they are also big industry players now, right? They have, like, a bunch of certifications that have been approved by DoD, and DoD requires their workers to have some of these certifications from CompTIA. Now, the next one that we'll look at is GIAC. that is Global Information Assurance Certification. Now, this certification body is owned by SANS, right? And SANS is one of the biggest cybersecurity training institutes that are out there. So these certifications, and among all these certifications, the most expensive is this one. The most expensive is this one. They have some courses or some certifications that are as high as like $5,400 just for the certification. I mean, most of their certifications come with training. If you don't take their training, you won't get their certification, right? So for them, they do their own internal training. You have to take that training before you get your certification. But we'll come to Audit, right? The next one we will look at is ISACA. So ISACA has also been around for a while, and they even have a cybersecurity framework that is called COBIT. ISACA is one of the big, certification bodies that are out there as well. Now, the next one that we will look at, which is not as popular as the last 4 or 5 that we looked at, is IAPP, right? International Association of Privacy Professionals. I really don't know how long this certification body has been around, but their main focus is on privacy. So any certification that has to do with privacy is them, right? So mostly, if you look at these certification bodies, it looks like everybody has their own niche, right? Everybody is known for their own specific niche. Now, let's say like an example, EC Council, they are not trying to provide certifications for cybersecurity managers or anything of that sort. They just focus specifically on ethical hacking, right? If you look at ISACA, ISACA's focus specifically on cybersecurity governance. So risk management, auditing, and those areas. Now, ISC2, they focus mainly on management and leadership aspect of cybersecurity. Now they have like cloud security and other ones out there, but mostly their main focus is on the operational leadership management side. CompTIA focuses mostly like CompTIA focuses on mostly like a technical side. They are very technical, because that is why CompTIA, for beginners, the CompTIA Security Plus is always the best, because it was really going to take you through the math and then bring you out. So once you're done with that and you pass it on your own merits, I think you should be very confident about your skills and your knowledge, right? Now, the next one we will look at is offensive security. So offensive security is not really known that much, but for the ethical hacking circles, offensive security is big. Like it is really big. Now, offensive security, OffSec, they are the owners of Kali Linux. So they started by, coming up with Kali Linux, and later they came up with their own certification as well, right? So they are the owners of Kali Linux. Now, these are some of the other certification bodies, but these are traditional companies that have been there for a while, with the exception of, I think, SET, Nexus, and Microsoft, Azure, Google, Cisco, and AWS. They are all traditional IT companies. But because of the products that they have, they've come up with their own certification exams and their certifications as well, right? So, but when we talk about the traditional certification bodies, they are the ones that we looked at first, right? Now, granted, this is not the entire list, but I think I have almost 80% of them here. Maybe there are some very few unknown ones that I probably missed, right? So let's move on into the certification bodies individually. I think I gave a little background about all of them already, but we will look at them and look at some of the certifications that they offer, right? So the first one we'll look at is ISC2. So ISC2, like I talked about, they've been around the longest. Stand to be corrected on that one as well, but I think they've been around for the longest. They are a non-profit organization. They are based in the States, and they offer a variety of cybersecurity certifications, but they are most popular and they are most sought after is the CISSP certification. Okay. So these are the list of ISC2 certifications that are out there. CISSP are obviously the #1, and then SSCP, CCSP, and the rest, they have like a whole list of catalog as well, right? And they have associates CISSP, associates ISC2, and we will look at what an associate ISC square certification is. So let's look at EC Council. So like I talked about earlier, EC Council, their main focus is ethical hacking, and their most popular certification is the CEH, that is the ethical, the certified ethical hacker, right? And they've also been around for a while, but their main focus in cybersecurity is they focus more on ethical hacking stuff. So if you are looking specifically to go into ethical hacking and you don't want to start from you know, just like the general area and then move into ethical hacking, you can directly go to them, right? And you'll be on your career path, right? These are some of the certifications that EC Council offers, and most of it is, I mean, everything is predominantly ethical hacking, probably with the exception of the certified CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, right? So everything else that they do, it predominantly focus on ethical hacking. And this is one of the areas where you can also get a lot of maybe technical knowledge, right? But as to if you want to move into ethical hacking, where to start and stuff, maybe that will be for a different discussion on a different day, right? Now let's come to CompTIA. Most known now to most people because of Security Plus. CompTIA is also a United States company, non-profit as well. It's an IT, a big cybersecurity player, and their most popular certification is the CompTIA Security Plus, right? So CompTIA Security Plus is not the only certification that they have. They have a variety of them. So for them, you can start off from IT fundamentals, CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and then to Security Plus. So they have a hierarchy, right, of where to start to go to where. But all that is a recommendation, is not a requirement. So if you don't do Network Plus or A+, they can, like, you can still sit for Security Plus, right? If you don't sit for Security Plus, you can still sit for any of the higher certifications, right? So they are very flexible on that, unlike some other certifications. Okay? So Security Plus is their biggest. Now, let's come to Global Information Assurance Certification. So this, like I said, is owned by SANS, and they've also been around. They were set up in 1999. So almost, you know, the early part of 2000 is where they probably kicked off really well. And the government, the United States government, really patronizes this certification also a lot. And mostly they pay for it for their employees to go and take this training. And like I said, like for all cybersecurity certifications, if you want the most expensive ones, is this one, right? All their certifications are really expensive, right? Because if not for anything, I know for their Pentest, their G-Pen, this one is almost like $6,000, but that includes their training anyways, right? So they have some really good certifications and very expensive. So let's look at ISACA. So ISACA is Information Systems Audits and Control Association. They are also a nonprofit based in the US. They have, their main focus is on audits and controls and governance, risk management. They have 8 certifications. They are very, like the most popular is CISA and SIM. CISA and SIM, there are some on there that maybe probably you've never heard about, but they have some good certifications. And they are also the owners of COBIT, one of the cybersecurity frameworks that is used in the corporate side. Right? So these are some of the certifications. CISA, SIM, I think like these are, like the first 2 are the most popular. The rest, you know, certified in risk management and information security, that is like the third nest, right? So that is ISACA. Now let's come to AIPP. So this was founded in 2000. Like the main focus is on privacy, data privacy. And they are, I would say they are the biggest when it comes to data privacy certifications. I mean, nobody comes close. Everything data privacy is them, right? So that is also their niche. These are some of their certifications. I think like these are their, you know, main certifications when it comes to data privacy. So CIPP is their most popular, and CIPM, I've not really seen CIPM around that much, and I almost every time see CIPP. So all those are certifications for privacy, but based on they have like professional manager and technologist. So depending on which, how you want to look at it, look at privacy, like the lens you want to use to look at privacy will determine which of these you have to go for. Okay. Now, I think the last one we'll look at in this tag is offensive security. So they've been around 2007. Since 2007, they are the owners of the open source hacking tool that is called Kali Linux, and they are also the owners of Exploit DB. So if you do ethical hacking, you know what Exploit DB is a whole database of exploits or that you can use to hack into systems, right? So Exploit DB, they keep track of all exploits that are available, and they are the owners of OSCP. So the certification OSCP is from them, and within the ethical hacking spheres, OSCP is not the most common, but if you have OSCP, you know, people will tilt their hats to you more. Reason being that for OSCP, it is not multiple choice. You have to actually hack into 5 systems. Maybe probably now they've changed it since I took it. You have to, if you know how to hack, these are the systems, hack into them, right? And they have like flags on them. So when you're able to hack into the area they want you to hack into, there is a code there, you copy it and paste it, and that will show that. And once you're done, you also have to make a full report, a penetration testing report. So it's not just you are just hacking, but you have to document everything you are doing. And you have 24 hours for this exam. It's 24 hours, right? And once you're done, you have 24 hours to submit your report. So the report is also going to take you another 24 hours. And for anybody who has been able to go through this and pass, I mean, more power to them, because it is not easy, it is hard. It is hard, right? So that is why OSCP is difficult. I'll say it's more difficult than ethical, like the certified ethical hacker, but not to take anything from any of them. But they are all coming from different angles. I think OSCP really exposes you more to what you're really going to be doing on the job, right? And these are some of the certifications that they have aside OSCP. And they also have their own training, right? So you can take, mostly, you can't take their certification if you don't take their training. They have, like, they've tied it together, right? So now let's look at prerequisites. We've looked at some of these certification bodies, certificates that they are offering. What are some prerequisites that you need before you can take some of these certifications, right? So for the schools or for the academic certifications, it will be determined by the school, right? Mostly for certifications, they don't really have like a very strict prerequisites. You know, maybe probably they will just let everybody in, you know, if you made some minimum criteria, right? But for the professional certifications, also depending on the certification body, they might have prerequisites or they might not. You know, sometimes it's not even a prerequisite, it's a recommendation, right? So knowing where you are going with this will really be able to help you. Now, for anybody not familiar with prerequisites, anything that you need to do or need to have before you are allowed to take that exam or that certification training, right? So example, we are going to look at some prerequisite examples. So for, if you take CISSP offered by ISC2, CISSP requires the candidates taking it to have a minimum of 5 years cumulated paid working experience, right? In 2 of the 8 domains that CISSP exams covers. And they call it common body of knowledge, right? So all the areas, the eight main areas or the 8 main domains that CISSP covers, you should have at least a minimum of 5 years working in any of the 2 of the 8 areas. Now, if you don't have 5 years of experience and you have college is going to count towards as 1 year of experience. Okay, they will use that as 1 year of experience for you, right? And any other credit that you have, they can, you know, put that together and use that as 1 year. So for anybody who does not have this, and you can still sit for the exam, but when you pass the exam, you are not going to get the CISSP certification. You're going to get what they call associate CISSP, right? And if you get associate CISSP, you have 6 years to gain 5 years of working experience to submit that for them to approve you and let you become a full CISSP. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now, I think I'll pause here and look at some of the questions in the chat. Okay, so starting from the top. Oh, meeting link for my son. Okay. So for this is being recorded. So for anybody who wanted somebody to join and they were not able to, we will send out the link. Okay. So for Kweku, we will send out the replay so he can take a look at it. Okay, so Kweku says, I'm currently in the Air Force and I want to get a degree as quickly as possible, but I also want a career in cybersecurity. What do I do? Okay, so Kweku, we will address that. Good question. Okay, I think that is the same question. All right, I'll address that question. We are almost done. So for the prerequisites, we are talking about prerequisites. CISSP, this is the prerequisite, right? Before you write it, but if you don't meet any of these, you can still go ahead and write it, but then you're not going to be a full CISSP. Just passing the exams will make you an associate CISSP, okay? And then when you get the 5 years of experience, then you become a full CISSP. Now, still, associate CISSP carries a lot of weight, right? Most organizations will take that in the absence of full CISSP. And they kind of also see it in the same light, because if you've been able to pass the exam, it's just the experience that you don't have, right? So it carries a lot of weight as well. Now, mostly for the certifications that are for advanced levels, so CISSP, we see it to be an advanced certification, right? CISA, CISM, they are all in the same category. So that is why those certifications, most of the advanced certifications, they require at least 5 years of experience in maybe 2 or 3 of the main areas that the certification will cover, right? So CISSP, sometimes, some people also will say it is an intermediate level, but any which ways, these ones, CISSP, CISA, CISM, and some other ones, they will require you to have at least 5 years of working experience. Okay? But if you don't, you can still write. When you pass, you're not going to be a full CISSP or a full maybe CISA, but you have to, like with time, if you prove the working experience side, you become, you gain the full certification. Now, some prerequisites do not require you to have any years of experience, but then they will require you to take a training from the organization offering the certification. An example is the OSCP certification that I was talking about, right? Prerequisite is that you should take or you should complete the OSCP training offered by Offensive Security. And if you finish the entire training, then you can, book an appointment to take the exam. And this is the exam that I was talking about. It's a 24 hours exam. You're going to be supervised. So it's like proctored. So you'll be supervised and they will give you a link. You click on the link, you will use their VPN to log in, and then they have the systems there. They give you the IP, IP addresses, and you have to hack into all those systems, try to break into them and capture, we call it capture the flag activities. So you have to break into them and capture the flag. And then when you do get the flag, if you get, I think out of the 5, the total max for all of it is 100. So some are 25, some are 20 per, IP address. If you get, I think you need 80, I stand to be corrected, but I mean, last time I did it, I got like 90 or something. So yes. So once you're done, you still have to send a report, because for all penetration testing or ethical hacking, it's not just the hacking part, like that part, if that is all that you think that is entailed, then you are in for a big surprise, because once you're done with the hacking, as you are hacking, you have to be documenting and, you know, keeping record of exactly what you are doing, like whatever scripts that you are typing in, you have to keep track of it, because the goal of it is that once you are done, somebody should be able to come behind you and use your notes to do exactly what you did, right? So if you are performing penetration testing for an organization, once you're done, they need a full report on what you did, you know, findings and recommendations. So all that is part of the exam. So with the exam, you are doing exactly what you're going to be doing on the exam. That is for the OSCP. So, but the prerequisite is that you have to take their training before you'll be able to sit for the exam, right? So without their training, even if you've been hacking for 200 years, you can't just go and, you know, sit for the exam. You have to register for their training, right? So, and let's look at CompTIA, right? So for CompTIA, they are one of the most flexible out there when it comes to prerequisites. They don't have prerequisites, but they have recommendations. So let's take a certification from CompTIA like CompTIA Security Plus. Security Plus, they recommend that before you take Security Plus, you should have taken their Security A Plus. No, not Security A Plus, but their CompTIA A Plus, CompTIA Network Plus before you take Security Plus, right? It is recommended, but if you think you have more knowledge and skills, and you can just scale the Security Plus, that is fine. You know, you can do that as well. If you think you can go higher than Security Plus, they also allow that, right? So for CompTIA, they don't really have very strict, and you don't have to take their training before you can take this, right? But they also offer training that you can take for Security Plus and all the other certifications. Now, this is the main question. How do you decide on which of these certifications to look at or to take? Right now, the certifications that we listed, there are more to it. You know, we are looking at some of the very popular ones. And next week, we will look individually into these certifications and what really, you know, it entails to get these certifications, the weight they carry, the knowledge you need. And then also based on career path, we will look at some of the career path. If you want to go offensive, defensive, governance side, compliance, what certifications do you need and what do those certifications cover? You know, how do you prepare for those certifications? We will look at all those and how does the certifications relate to what you're going to be doing on the job, right? Most people think just getting the certification that is end all be all, but you're really going to get a big shock if you do get a job. That some of the knowledge and skills that you gain, if you really paid attention to it and if you really, you know, took time to absorb it, most of it is really going to pay off. It's really going to help, right? But most of these certifications, with the exception of like the ethical hacking side, most of these certifications don't look at the hands-on side, right? So that is something that you might be lacking if you just focus on, you just take the certification and then that's it. You don't get any hands-on training. You really, I mean, on the job, you are going to be fine if you are somebody who is really into, you know, revising your notes and studying, you'll be fine. But it's going to be an uphill battle trying to catch up with the tools, right? And also even for interviews, trying to break into the interviews without a hands-on side, you know, you might really encounter some little issues here and there, because if they start asking you about tools and stuff, you know, you really wouldn't know much, because I think the only certification that really touches on tools without you actually using it, but, you know, forcing you to learn them is the CompTIA Security Analyst, right? But even with their new version of their exam, they've really toned down on that side. But their old version, I think that was, I don't remember their, what, I think it was like 201 or something like that, really touches on a lot of tools. But their new version doesn't even touch on much, right? So now let's look at how to decide on a certification. So deciding on a certification, there's no straightforward answer to that, right? It will depend on a variety of, you know, reasons and situations. So one, choosing the certification you want to pursue will depend on your level of knowledge and skill, right? So if you are a beginner, you don't know anything, and okay, what certification is going to be good for me? My advice, regardless of what area of cybersecurity you want to go into, you know, is to start from Security Plus, because that will give you a very solid foundation and you can build upon it into any area. Ethical hacking side, governance, compliance, right? Any area, and you'll be more confident, right? Rather than just jumping into a compliance certification without any background, because most of the compliance and governance certifications, all those are advanced and intermediate certifications, right? So, and even the ethical hacking side, those certifications, if you don't have the foundation, most of the stuff they are talking about over there will be over your head. That is just my honest advice, right? So to start with no knowledge, nothing, starting from Security Plus is a good starting point. Now ISC2, the owners of CISSP, they came up with a new certification for entry level professionals. They call it the entry level cybersecurity professional certification, right? I think they stole the name for our entry level. That is a different matter, okay, right? But they just came up with that, I think, this year, and they are still on the trial phase. So they, put it out. I think it was $125, encouraging people to sit for it. And they are using that to gather information and to polish up the questions that they are going to use for the actual, like the full-blown certification. And ISACA also has Cybersecurity Foundation certification, I think. So but among all of them, Security Plus, is the biggest, right? Because the knowledge and skills that you're going to get from the Security Plus, if you polish that up a little bit, you can easily scale CISSP. CISSP is big, right? But Security Plus touches a lot of areas. So, and it's also very technical, if you want to put it that way, right? So, but it's not something that you cannot scale. I know most people, will come to you. I have Security Plus, but just passing the exams is easy. I mean, I think everybody on here can pass Security Plus. But will you know the content and what you need to know for Security Plus? That is the point, right? Passing it is easy, but knowing, the weight Security Plus carry and being able to carry that weight in terms of knowledge and skill, even if you pass the exams, you still have to go back to the books and whatever studies that you did, still go back and, go back through and still revise, especially for people starting, off with no knowledge and, no background. Cybersecurity, or just like any other industry, is like learning a new language, right? If you learn it for just 1 week or 2 months or 3 months to pass an exam and you pass, and you just go back to sleep on it, I don't think you're going to do well in that language, right? So that is my honest opinion. Right now, too, another thing that is going to affect or help you decide on which certifications to take is your career path, right? So I've just talked about, if you are starting off, you don't know anything, foundation-wise, take Security Plus, or ISC2's entry-level certification that they just brought, or ISACA's foundation cybersecurity certification that they have. But for career path-wise, knowing which way you want to go. So if you don't want to go offensive, and now offensive in cybersecurity, we are referring to, hacking, ethical hacking, forensics, those areas. That is what we call offensive, right? Now, defensive is the analyst portion of the house, risk management, that side, right? So mostly we have your red and blue team, and now they even have purple team and white team, and, right? But we're not going to get into all that. Now, if you want to go into governance, there are a certain set of certifications that you have to look at. If you want to go into compliance, so next week, that is what we are going to be looking at. We are going to look at career path and specific certifications that you need for that career path and what goes into those certifications. That is what we are going to look at. And we're still going to look at from the beginning. If you are starting off, what you need, all those certifications that I talked about, we are going to list them and talk about them, more in depth. But where you want to go in cybersecurity will determine which certifications, you get. So let's say you pass the entry level point. Now you are looking at, okay, I want to go into governance or compliance. What certifications, so if you are going into compliance, you wouldn't be wasting your time chasing OSCP and CEH. I mean, all those are going to give you some knowledge, and help you overall to become all-rounded cybersecurity professional. But is it really, would you really need that to get to your compliance goal? or to be a really good governance cybersecurity professional. No. So that is going to inform you, on which ones to take. Now, 3, we are looking at employment requirements. Like I said, DoD, Department of Defense, requires their infosec employees, and now they want to even generalize it and make it almost all employees to have at least security plus, but they have like a whole chart of each level that you are at in the organization, the certifications that you have to, get. And it doesn't only cover, as certifications from CompTIA, it covers certifications from ISC2, EC Council, and all these other certification bodies, right? And now the last one that we'll look at, so this is not all the reasons or all the things or all the situations that you can use to choose a certification you want to pursue, but at least it is a good starting point, right? The last one that we will look at here is job title, right? If you are looking at a specific job title or job titles, those job titles also come with some certifications, right? So a very easy way to do this experiment is if you go to Indeed, if you go to Glassdoor or any of these websites, job sites, and you search for specific job titles, look through the job description, you see that they are asking for specific certifications, right? If you look at 10 of them, you will be able to identify 2 or 3 certifications that cuts across all of it, right? And that is going to be part of the research you do to list, okay, these are the certifications that I need for this job title, right? And then you can start pursuing those certifications. Okay, so an example, if you are looking to be a cybersecurity manager, obviously you have to have CISSP because it's one of the cybersecurity manager certifications out there. CISSP, at least they require you to have it. Maybe on the minimum, they will require you to have security plus. Right? So this is just an example of how you'll be able to choose your certifications that you want to pursue in cybersecurity. Now, next week, we are going to elaborate more on this and dive deep into different job titles and also like the certifications that you need for different career paths. Okay? So this is the end of today's cyber chat. I appreciate everybody's time. This is our contact right here. Now I'm going to look at some of the questions that are in the chat. And if anybody has any question, you can please raise your virtual hand and we will answer your questions accordingly. Okay. Thank you very much. Let me look at the questions and then we will start. So I think I'll start with Quake, who was asking that he wants a degree so bad as soon as possible, but he still wants to pursue a cybersecurity. I don't know what you want your degree in, Quake. Is it just any degree, or you are looking at an IT or cybersecurity degree, right? If you can really explain that, then I'll be able to point you in the right direction, right? But let's assume you are looking for any degree and you still want to pursue cybersecurity. I think depending on the load or like the workload of that degree, I'll finish that degree first. And I don't know like where you are at, if you're in the like first year or you're about to be done. But depending on, if you're about to be done, then I'll just focus and finish it. If you are just starting off and you have some time, then you can take, other short cybersecurity training courses on the side. And, that will help you to, start preparing yourself to, get into the cybersecurity side of the house. Right? So I think, yeah, that is for Kweku. And for TT is asking, please explain associate CISSP CPE. Okay, so TT, associate CISSP is if you don't meet, so CISSP has a prerequisite that requires you to have 5 years of paid working experience within 2 of the areas, the 2 of the 8 areas that their certification exams covers, right? They call that their common body of knowledge. So if you don't meet that and you still go ahead and write and pass their exam. Now they will, classify you instead of you saying you have CISSP, you say you have an associate, you are an associate CISSP. So associate means you didn't fully meet all their requirements. So just passing the exam for them, that is not it. You have to prove that you have the working experience as well, right? So if you just pass the exam, so anybody can sit for the exam and pass. If you pass, you become an associate CISSP, and with associate CISSP, they give you 6 years to acquire 5 years of working experience in any two of the 8 fields, like two of the 8 main categories that they cover on their exam, right? Now, when it comes to CPEs, they are like continuous education credits that different certification bodies have different names that they call it. ISC2 calls it CPE, right? So if you go to cybersecurity webinars, if maybe you wrote CISSP and you went ahead and you wrote Security Plus, you wrote CISA, all those will count towards your continuous education, right? So you can submit that to ISC2 and they'll give you credit when your CISSP certification is about to expire. So that is 3 years. And for ISC2, they require you to have, at least every year, they require you to have, I think, 40, I think like in total is, I stand to be corrected. In total, I think it's like 120 CPEs that they are looking for, right? So if you have some training elsewhere, if you have like the certifications for it, you can submit it and they'll give you credit for it. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, TT. And for Romeo, so Romeo says, I previously had Security Plus, the 401, that was a while ago. And I'm looking into preparing for Security Plus 601, then move into pen testing. That is good. Okay, pen testing certification. I tried back in 2014, but never, okay, I tried in 2014, but never landed a job in the domain. Currently, I'm in oil and gas, but want to start, switching back into cybersecurity. I hold Scrub Master certification. That's good. But looking into a way to not only to acquire the knowledge, but also gain experience in there. Okay, good. So TT, we can, not TT, Romeo, we can talk offline. I think you are on the right path, right? With some guidance, you can easily, break into the industry. So, I mean, we can talk offline. I'm going to put my number in here so we can talk. And Jennifer is asking, which certification do you focus on for your students? So for our students, depending on which course you are taking, for the entry-level course, we cover way more than you need for Security Plus, but we encourage you, since you're starting from the ground, once you're done, take Security Plus, but you can also take Security Analyst. But we encourage everybody to start with Security Plus, right? We have CISSP courses, CISA, and some other advanced courses that we offer. So depending on which one that you want to take will determine what certification that you'll be qualified for. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. So Kweku is most likely an IT. Oh, okay. So Kweku, you are planning on taking the degree, starting your degree now. You are not in it. Okay, so he's planning on taking an IT degree. Okay, so if you want to get into cybersecurity, then what I will say is, and you want to go into IT, you do an IT degree, then start something in cybersecurity in terms of degree, right? So not just don't just go and take any IT degree, but take a degree in cybersecurity. And then whilst you are taking that, you can be taking some cybersecurity boot camps on the side as well. And that is going to help, because that is not only going to help with your coursework, but it's also going to help you gain the knowledge and the skills. Okay, TT, I'll put my number in here. Anybody has any questions? The floor is open. You can ask your question, and then we'll answer you. And we're going to wrap it up. It's almost 8:10.
Yeah, Doc, this is Arma. I just dropped a question in the chat. But basically, I just wanted to ask about the Amazon search that people keep talking about. I keep hearing a lot about it. How valuable is it? Are they in the market today? And do you recommend it? and how, because, while searching, there's a lot of cloud, Azure certs that are out there. What will you say about those and the ones from Amazon?
Okay, thank you. I probably didn't. Okay. Oh, Armor. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's one.
good. So now
Thank
cloud
you.
certifications, they are good, right? And when it comes to the cloud, there are different certifications out there. Some are general certifications; they are not specific to any specific brand, and some are specific to brands. So an example is AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. So all these companies, they are the service providers offering these cloud services, and they also have their own certifications. So reason why they came up with their own certifications was that there were no certifications being offered by other bodies that were helping people who will be able to help Google and Google Cloud, AWS to really manage their cloud services. So they came up with their own certifications, and that is what they are using. So now if you want to work for an organization that is using AWS and they need somebody within the cloud side to work as their AWS architect or like their AWS like security person, they require you to have an AWS cloud security certification, right? If you are going to work as a cloud security guy, right? Aside that, you cannot take, so if you want to work on the AWS side, you cannot take like Google cloud certification and then come and use that on the AWS side. But the trick to it is that if you know one, you know it all. The difference is that like the cloud infrastructure and the cloud systems, they are the same, right? But the different companies, they call them different names. Okay. So just like cars, right? All cars are the same. But let's say Ford decides to call their steering wheel maybe Ford, S2, right? And then Mercedes decides to call the same steering wheel M3. Because just like AW, like if you compare like all the different elements of it, like you see that they all follow the same, they are the same thing. If it comes to like storage, AWS has their S3 buckets, right? Azure also call it like a different name. Google Cloud calls it a different name, but it's the same thing, right? Now they have their own like peculiar way of moving around within their space, but then mostly the ideology and the ways to do stuff, they are almost the same, right? But if you want to work specifically with AWS, I'll rather take AWS certifications, or you can start off by taking general cloud certifications. So CompTIA has Cloud Plus, which is good. It doesn't like, it's like vendor neutral, right? It's vendor neutral, so it doesn't focus on any vendor, but it focuses on the concepts and the skills that you need to be able to function. So taking that and going into AWS is very easy for you to understand most of the concepts already. Going into Azure, it's going to be easy for you to, but even if let's say you started with AWS, now you want to move into Google Cloud. If you move, it's like you start taking Google Cloud courses for their certification, you see that it's not really that much. It's just names that have been changed, right? So if you are looking into that, mostly they all have like a beginners. So with AWS, they have the AWS foundation, AWS practitioner, right? So that is like the beginner. Take that. Most people will just jump and go do associate or whatever. But most of the stuff in associate is going to be over your head because you are not even familiar with the terminology and the concept. Right. Yes.
AWS practitioner, right? That's
yes.
what you recommend. Okay.
Yes, and for Azure, it's also like AWS fundamentals or something. Like they all have like different names, but when you look, like they all have like their like their structure or their like hierarchy when it comes to their certifications. So you see, the one at the bottom is where you have to start out, right?
Okay.
And depending if you want to go the security side, there's a path to security, there's a path to architecture, there's a path to DevOps, right?
Okay. Thank you.
And there was a question. Let me see. Okay, so I put the contacts in the chat. So please go ahead and reach out if you need any help or you need more clarification. But next week, we are going to continue with the certifications, dive more into it based on areas that you want to go into. And we might even add the cloud certifications to it as well. So we didn't really talk much about the cloud side, or because those were more not from a traditional certification body. But next week, we will look at IT giants who are now offering certification courses, and also really narrow down certifications to job titles as well. Okay. I appreciate everybody's time. If there are no more questions, I think we're going to end here. The recording will be posted probably tomorrow morning. So, and for interns, we are meeting tomorrow, same time. Appreciate everybody's time. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll meet same time next week. For interns and anybody else, the PCI class is also beginning. The new PCI class will begin by the 27th. So I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll meet again at the same time next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.